Okay, I have an idea. Watching the Florida Panthers celebrate yesterday. By the way, all the IG stuff was great. More on that coming up in a couple of moments. Zach, I want your thoughts on this one. Here's my thought. Here's what July 1st should be. Here's what free agent day should be. It should be a bunch of drunken hockey players on a stage doing their contract negotiation in public in front of a crowd. What do you think? Starting at noon. Have to be buckled. Has to be a crowd.
I don't know. I don't know if you remember LeBron going to Miami.
Of course,
they did the
reveal, or was it called
live,
The Choice? What was it called? Yeah, on ESPN.
Yeah, whatever. The
decision. That was it.
The decision. That clown. Anyways, what Sam Bennett did last night was 10 million times more awesome. Going up on stage at 11 after winning back-to-back Stanley Cups, being hammered,
it's awesome.
And making them also, by the way, quiet the crowd and the music.
Yeah.
And then yelling, you know what, next. I'm staying right here. That was unreal. Yeah. That's the best announcement of all time.
Now, as Pierre LeBrun pointed out in the tweet, Killjoy tweet right after, there's still a negotiation that has to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, of course. It's just a fun moment. That's all. Like, last night was just flat out fun by the Florida Panthers, trolling all the teams that let all these players go. Listen, like, any team can do that. No team's pure. No teams have all the everyone on the Stanley Cup team, like, only drafted players that developed in their system. That doesn't happen. Used to, once upon a time, a million years ago. Doesn't happen anymore, as we all know. But still, like, again, just when you might think for 1 second that Brad Marchand is out of trolling ideas, it's not just other players. It's other teams. Maybe other teams that want to sign him too.
Jeff, he put a picture of Paul Maurice and said, "Thank you, Jets."
I know.
Like, that is
so
just, that one had all the other ones I liked. I thought it was funny. I'm also selfish. It's good for us doing content. I was like, this is great. And when he put out Paul Maurice, I was like laughing out loud. I'm like, this is just beyond what you could have ever asked for.
Yes. I like the promo that you put out for the show today. We're going to go through the rundown here in a couple of seconds, the daily outline. I really liked it. And the first thing that came to mind, because you put a picture of Connor McDavid right next to Jonathan Toews. And the news that Jonathan Toews is returning to the NHL. He's going to play with the Winnipeg Jets. We're going to go over his contract here in a couple of seconds, which the base is 2, and with bonuses, he can get him to 5. You got to protect yourself. I get it. He hasn't played since 2023. But you know the first thing that I thought of? Is that Captain Serious meets new Captain Serious?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. Captain Serious meets new Captain Serious with a
it's Spider-Man meme. It's Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. I was trying to think
without the cups on the Edmonton guy.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was trying to put politely and figure out how I was going to soft land that one.
I know.
I wasn't going to say the success, but yeah, that's the way to put it. Yeah.
I want to go over the Stan Bowman comments from today as well. The Oilers general manager commenting on a number of things. Net minding and Connor McDavid. Those were top of mind, essentially, for everybody. Hey, something I want to get your thoughts on, too, quickly before we get to the daily outline. I was on with the Barn Burner guys today, and they were talking about pizza. Did I ever tell you my theory about pizza? Take this one into the weekend. Here's my theory about pizza. Pizza is the most perfectly named word for a food in the entire English language. I want you to think about all the times that you were like Brad Marchand or Sam Bennett buckled. Okay, think of all the times that you were that ruined, like you were just a puddle. Think about all those times in your life. It's for everybody either watching or listening right now as well. Think of all those times that's been you, that you were Sam Bennett last night, that you were Brad Marchand last night. Think about all those times. Have you ever mispronounced the word pizza? It's a perfect word.
No.
It's impossible to mispronounce. There's no stumble. There's no like speed bump part of the word itself. It is perfect. That's why it's always a perfect meal when you're hammered. because you can't mispronounce it. You can stumble over hamburger. That's easy.
Is this what our off-season content is going to be?
Yeah. Why pizza is the perfect word. Because you can't mispronounce it. Have you ever mispronounced pizza? Anybody in the chat right now, have you ever mispronounced pizza?
No.
Impossible to mispronounce. That's why.
I'll put a poll up.
It is, yeah. Have you ever mispronounced the word pizza? It's going to be over. It's going to be 100%. Unless, some smart ass like Willie.
Big Willie.
It's going to say like, yeah, I did. Just to be contrarian. But no, man, like it's a word that you can't mispronounce. We'll see where that poll goes. In the meantime, let's see what we got coming up on the program today. It's a big one because we got trades and signings and stuff. Daily Outline, powered by FanDuel. Make every moment more with North America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Coming up on the program today, two big guests, two of our favorites around these parts and all around Daily Faceoff for that matter. Shayna Goldman from the Too Many Men podcast and The Athletic will stop by. Dave Pagnotta from the Fourth Period, and you see him sort of all around a lot of our properties here, like Pepper and Parsley in the Soup. Dave's going to stop by here around 30 minutes time, I believe. We'll talk about Toews and the new contract with the Winnipeg Jets. Congratulations, Manitoba. Your boy is back. We'll talk about the Florida Panthers announcing contract signings while buckled on stage last night and trolling every team in the NHL seemingly. Mason Marchment finds his way from one tax-free state to another tax-free state, and we'll tell you why that's important in a couple of seconds. And dovetailing that, the Dallas Stars with a couple of signings today. So I think right now, after their two signings today, Maverick Bourque and Nils Lundqvist, they have $2.7 million worth of cap space and still big decisions on the horizon. And we'll talk about free agency as well. Do you want to have a look at that bonus structure, by the way, or do you want to wait till Shayna hops on here for the for Jonathan Toews? I mean, it's the base of $2 million, and then don't get dizzy with all these numbers. One of the reasons why I got into sports after graduating university in the mid '90s was no math, please. And now that I cover hockey in a very sophisticated CBA, it's all math. And if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have taken it. Put it this way, if I knew I was going to cover sports in my life, as opposed to just read books and mark papers and do a PhD in English, I probably would have taken more math classes or maybe even been a lawyer in order to sort of really understand how this industry works. But nonetheless, after 20 regular season games, 30, 40, 50, 60, $550,000 bonuses trigger. Playoff bonuses as well, Stanley Cup final bonuses, etc., can get things this up to about $5 million, just courtesy of Ken Wiebe and some guy by the name of Elliot Friedman.
Who is that guy?
I don't know. I'm vaguely familiar with him. We may or may not have broken in together back in 1994 at the Fan, when it was owned by Telemedia back at 40 Holly Street. Nonetheless, it's an interesting one. You can understand, first of all, for the sentimental folk out there, and that's me, and maybe just a byproduct of getting older. This one's nice. I know the local boy goes home story doesn't always work, but I think we always wondered, would Jonathan Toews ever go back and play with his hometown? The Winnipeg Jets, the thing about it is now, if the Winnipeg Jets weren't a Stanley Cup contender, I don't know that Jonathan Toews chooses the Winnipeg Jets to make his comeback. You know what I mean? If the Winnipeg Jets floundering and rebuilding and they hadn't re-signed the goalie in the center 2 years ago, he's probably not choosing the Winnipeg Jets. But the fact that they're a competitive team made this one a lot easier. You have a quick thought on this one here? I want to get the Shayna coming up in a couple of seconds.
Happy to see him come back. I also think this is the kind of guy who's not coming back just for the sake of it. If he didn't think he could play and compete, then he's not going to. That contract, I kind of love it. I love the bonus, reading everything put out like that, because I also think the other part of it is if he can hit every single one of those things.
Then the Jets win the cup.
Right,
he can hit every one of them.
Well, every single one. I mean, at least the majority of it. If he's knocking off the games played and then the playoffs and he's helping them with that stuff, this is a home run by every single metric for the Jets. This is a perfect contract. One thing I want to ask you, and if you could explain it to people who maybe don't know, How does this work AAV-wise, salary cap-wise for the Winnipeg Jets? Could you just put that out there for people? Because that's something I've seen people asking, not getting clear answers on, and someone asked me, and I couldn't figure out how to give them a clear answer on it.
So in this one, and by the way, let me know when Shayna is standing by, because a lot of this will be bonus that goes into next season. But let me call up our friends here. So the salary cap, like the base that he's getting paid, is the $2 million, and the bonuses. And you see this with teams each and every year. They have bonuses that get paid that go on to count towards next year's salary cap. But for the purposes of how you collect and snapshot the salary cap commits for next season for the Winnipeg Jets, it is a $2 million contract with performance bonuses that take it up to $5 million. With that, let's get to Shayna. You have heard her on the Too Many Men podcast. You have read her work at The Athletic, and you've seen and heard her here, complete with her burn book behind her. She's the one and only Shayna Goldman, and she joins me now. Shayna, we were just talking about Jonathan Toews and that incredible contract, laden with bonuses as it may be, which could top him up at $5 million. At the base is $2 million for salary cap purposes next year for the Winnipeg Jets. First of all, the choice for the Winnipeg Jets, for him to choose the Winnipeg Jets, there is obviously mutual interest. Local boy goes home, etc. Quick thought on Jonathan Toews. He's back, and maybe that's the big story. We're just happy that there's a Jonathan Toews back in the NHL universe. Thoughts on Toews? Thoughts on the Jets? Thoughts of this marriage?
I think the Jets need help down the middle, so check one for them. I think they have bigger things and bigger fish to fry this offseason. Like, I don't know, the Ehlers situation potentially replacing him, but it's never a bad thing to have extra centers. I do think everyone needs to be careful about what he's going to bring to the lineup, right? Because I feel like I've seen it hyped up a lot, like, oh, great, he can jump in and be a 2C. And it's like, that's in a perfect world, right? Like, he has not played in 2 years. The game is a lot faster than it was 2 years ago. It's a lot more skilled. And this isn't someone doing it like Landeskog did it. You know, he's in his early 30s. This is a 37-year-old. So it's that much tougher to get back up to speed when you have a short-term injury, let alone you're out of the game for 2 years, and we know it. Nothing replicates game action. So he hasn't had that practice and those reps that he's going to need. I think realistically, he's slotted more as a 3C, let's say, and he can work his way up from there. I think you have to take the careful approach in this case.
You know, one of the things that we wonder about now, too, is, listen, Mark Scheifele is the first-line center for the Winnipeg Jets, full stop. And now if he's taking 2C, or is he taking 2C? Because, listen, I really like Vladislav Namestnikov. I think he's an excellent hockey player and a really versatile player for the Winnipeg Jets. And I guess, like, further to your point, that's the battle. Who's getting that 2C spot for the Winnipeg Jets? Then you get to Lowry, who's like kind of a perfect 3C here. Like, again, maybe it's a good problem to have, just like we have too many D. We have too many centers here now all of a sudden.
If you're going to have too many of anything, you want too many of centers, right? Like, the best teams, we see it. It's you have all these extra options, so you can mix and match your lines as you need. You're not stuck to just these four players have to play down the middle and nobody else can. So definitely a good problem to have. Having Lowry there is a big addition, a big help, I should say, because he can play top competition. I think that they've eased Scheifele into tougher matchups too, especially over the last year. So you can afford to shelter Toews if need be, which we saw that second line get sheltered with Ehlers and Perfetti. So it could work. I mean, for all we know, he's going to slot down to 4C and work his way up from there. Like, it's really going to be interesting because there's so much we don't know. There's always uncertainty with player acquisitions, right? Every single player transaction comes with an element of uncertainty. And as much as you can project and assume and, guess how players are going to fit and how they'll react, you don't know. And here it's even, it's more of a wild card, but it's not a bad thing to have. I think what's going to be interesting is who plays around him, because sometimes when you have players who aren't true cuts for that position, right? And generally a center is the driver of his own line. And in his heyday, that's what he was, but he's not anymore. We don't know is what's the caliber of wing around you. And you think of like the Vegas years, right? Of Chandler Stevenson playing between Pacioretty and Mark Stone. Like, he wasn't a 1C caliber, but his wingers were the drivers of his line. So it was just fine. So how do they account for that if Ehlers isn't there?
One of the things that I should have done, and I want to get a quick chat about Jonathan Toews here out of the way, because it is kind of the headline story of the day. We'll get to Mason Marchment in a couple of seconds, and I want to get your thoughts on the Florida Panthers and announcing contract signings while drunk on stage in front of teammates and a crowd, which I think every July 1st should be. But bracket that for a second. You know, we talked about off the top of the program today, pizza.
Okay.
And here's the point that I was trying to make. Pizza is the perfectly named food because it is impossible to mispronounce. Either maybe when you've been buckled yourself, young Shayna Goldman,
Never.
or when
Never.
You've been around someone else who's been. Have you ever heard, or have you yourself ever mispronounced the word pizza? I maintain it is impossible to mispronounce.
I think you're right.
You cannot
Definitely
mispronounce
think you're right.
it. Like you can mispronounce. Like I'm looking over your left shoulder right now, and there's a hot dog. You can
Glizzy Girl Summer.
mispronounce
You
hot
got to
dog.
have a hot dog.
I know. I get it. You know, you and I have a mutual love for pickles, but you can mispronounce pickles. There's a couple speed bumps in there. You could. Well, if you're buckled, you can. You sure can. But pizza is just so perfect. Your favorite pizza before we go on to talk about Mason Marchment. Pizza break here. You're ordering a pie tonight. What's on it for you?
Okay, if I'm getting a single specialty slice, I am getting a penne slice. I generally don't get that as the full pie. That's a lot for a full pie, but as a single slice, I want that. If I'm getting a pie, I am big on like a grandma pie or a margarita pie, but I'm not picky at all. Like I'll eat Domino's with black olives. That's if I'm buckled, that's the pizza I'm thinking.
Black
but
olives?
Oh yeah, it's delicious on pizza. Trust me.
Are you raised by
Especially
no olives in general? First of all, like man, our
No,
friendship.
you're wrong
our
on that.
friendship is
I'm not even
teetering,
going.
dude.
I'm not even going there with that because you're so wrong on that one. But we have so many options for pizza here. Actually, I'm good with a plain slice. We're going on an adventure this summer where we're gonna try. Just in my town alone, there's probably 20 pizza places, if not more. We're gonna try the plain slices at every single one and come up with a rating system because we're very curious who truly has the best because it's been a debate. So I will take any kind of pizza, but I think if you can do it right, a perfect classic pie, there's nothing wrong with that.
I love that you have a research project for the summer that involves food. I'm a big fan of that. Okay, back to business now and the very seriousness of hockey. Rah, 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 rah. I haven't talked to you on the air anyhow since the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, 3-time Stanley Cup finalists here. Like it's certainly impressive. But I don't know that we're in an area now yet where I'm ready to say, in the salary cap era, the Florida Panthers have distinguished themselves and have pulled themselves away from the pack that includes the Kings, the Hawks, the Pens, the Bolts. You know what I'm going for here, right? Like they haven't yet settled the question of, in the salary cap era, who's been the best team. Agree or disagree?
They're up there. I don't think I could pinpoint one right now because then you have to create this whole rating system and a rubric, and now it's another project. So I would. You're
doing this for pizza. You're about to do this for pizza slices.
Yeah. Listen, we went back. I don't remember how long ago, but we did this at the Athletic, where we looked at the best Stanley Cup champs. I think it was of the salary cap era, possibly. I think so. I have Tampa Bay rated pretty highly up there, but I do think it's Tampa and Florida, and it's recency bias a bit, but I think also just the skill to do it the way they've done it, the path that they've taken, right? Like it's not like they've gone the easiest paths this or last year, the Panthers, and I would say the same for Tampa Bay, one of their years to get here. So they're up there for me. I think the fact that you're a team that gets to the Stanley Cup final 3 straight years, and the Kings, there's gaps in between, and the Blackhawks, it's every other year, right? So it's a little bit different too. To do it in a salary cap era, and you do it every year, and you do it with the same core, and you just keep rotating the pieces around it. It's a strategy for success I think everyone should be taking note of because to me, they are 2 of the best teams, like 2 of the best champs we've seen.
What are the like we always wonder, okay, and now a lot of other teams out there are going to be, looking for their own version of Sam Bennett and their own Brad Marchands, etc., Aaron Ekblad. Those are the big 3 that we're wondering about. To me, one of the takeaways from this Florida Panthers organization is, as much as the Carolina Hurricanes, led by Eric Tulsky, Tyler Dello, are the team that's considered, the team that runs everything through analytics filters. Florida's right there too.
Yeah.
Sonny Mehta is one of the brightest minds when it comes. He's got a fascinating story. Former professional musician, former professional poker player, derivatives trader, I believe, briefly in Chicago for a while, was a consultant with Coyotes and the Capitals for a number of years, hired by the New Jersey Devils, finds himself now with the Florida Panthers. As much as the Florida Panthers look and feel like an old school team, it's new school measurement and new school evaluation that's made all of this possible.
Yeah, and it has been for some time. Right? It wasn't just starting with Sonny. You go back to the years before, even through all the Dale Talon messes, you have Eric Joyce, you have Steve, Cam, Josh, you have all of those, Steve Warrior, the computer boys.
Yeah.
Cam, they're finding Carter Verhaeghe. That's one of Cam Lawrence's signature finds, right? And everybody hypes him up for it. And now he's over working in Columbus. Like, they put in this foundation to drafting and developing players and also spotting these market inefficiencies to build this team. And they took it in a different direction with this front office, but they still have it because at the end of the day, if you're going to be the most competitive team in this league, you're going to be using every single tool available to you. Right? Mm-hmm. You're using the eye test. Who among us isn't watching, right? Like, that one grinds my gears. So you're watching stuff, but sometimes when you're watching something, we're all biased. Inherently biased people, right? Scoring goals in big moments, we're going to remember, and it might not be the little plays that lead up to it. So it helps to have the numbers and the data as a vibe check behind what you're seeing to confirm what you're seeing. It also might be you have a question, right? Like, why is this player doing this? Or why isn't this player doing this? And this is going to help you figure it out and maybe solve a problem that you weren't having before. Why is your power play failing? It might be that you're entering the zone in this spot and everyone's scouting that you do it and your entry percentage is down. And that's step one that you need to address. Well, you look to the numbers, right? So there's all these different tools out there. It's the same thing as saying put pucks on net. Now we're counting shot attempts, right? And everyone gets all up in arms about that. There are so many things out there that if you're the best team, you're going to use every bit of information and you're going to be this nice meld of all different perspectives and mindsets that you're going to put together and have this really great end result. And everyone's buying in and there's a lot of give and take and it just makes for the best product.
You know, I was having a conversation with someone not too long ago, and we're having the conversation about building a team and using numbers to evaluate players, as everybody does. Anyway, I'm just talking about like super sophisticated, analytics that goes into evaluating players. And this person said to me, and this is someone in the analytics community, who said, all anyone is doing here is just trying to get the best combination of players. And I said, what do you mean? And this person said to me, do you think anyone in the NHL would have beaten the Four Nations, Team Canada or Team USA? I said, no. He goes, just a collection of great players. That's all we're trying to do here. But sometimes when you look at the Florida Panthers, everything just works. And I wonder about that one thing called luck that we never like to talk about because we want to pretend that we can explain away everything. And this is why this happened. And that's why that thing over there happened. That's why this is working in concert and everything is producing a Stanley Cup. Even when you look at a team like the Florida Panthers, which all the decisions are very deliberate and very well thought out. I don't know if there's a percentage you can put on it, but how much for you does luck factor into all of this? At the end of the day, it's frozen water and a rubber biscuit that everyone's chasing around on this frozen, on all these ice cubes.
Yeah, skating on knives and shooting pucks 100 miles per hour. There has to be some luck in it. Like, ice surfaces are, made to perfection, but that perfection has imperfections, and there's going to, puck's going to hit a rut and it's going to bounce weird, right? Like, that's part of it.
And no chick's going to fire the puck over the glass because of it in the last 5 minutes of a game. And that's why your boy Jeffy wants to have 20-minute periods turn into 15-minute quarters. But everyone's going to bark and say, this isn't basketball.
I'm with them. I'm with everyone on that one. I'm against you there. But no, you need.
But hang on. Pause on that for 1 second. And here's why. Hockey is I look at, pick any other sport. Baseball, football, golf. Like, pick all these other sports. They go out of their way to make sure that as the game goes on, the surface remains pure and clean and safe for the athletes. Hockey, I mean, I know there's like dry scrapes here and there at TV timeouts. Hockey watches theirs deteriorate as the period is going on. And you know what it's like trying to make passes in the last 5 minutes of a period. I mean, we all felt, unless you're an Oilers fan, everyone felt horrible at Thomas Nosek for game one and the puck over the glass. That's because of the ice late in the period. And then the Oilers score and Oilers are up 1-0 in a series. And it's a great comeback for the Edmonton Oilers. But I mean, the only thing, if we do think that it is a problem with the ice in the last 5 minutes, the only thing that I can think of is 4 quarters.
Okay, fair. But I also think you have to like account for that, right? Like, it's different on a fresh sheet of ice versus what it might be like at the end of the game and at the end of a period. And I think it adds like another element to it that you have to prepare for it. So until it's deemed unsafe, because then yes, it would have to be changed. I'm not changing it. But back to your question about luck.
Yes.
I would say like it's good to be lucky, but you can't, you know what I mean? Like, it's good to be lucky, but you can't just be lucky and that's why you're good. There's an element of sustainability, right? Someone shooting 25%, generally what comes up goes down, and they might go through a huge regression to get back to average. It doesn't always happen, but you have to be lucky. But I think with the Panthers, yes, they got lucky bounces. Yes, they were lucky to not get calls on certain things. I also think until someone tells you to stop and change the boundaries, you keep pushing it, because why shouldn't you, right? Push the bounds until someone literally says you can't do that. Just play the game as hard as you can. But I think with them, it's so much bigger than it. I think part of their success, they're lucky that guys want to be there, but they've made it that people want to be. It's an organizational buy-in from top to bottom to go all in on this window. And I think that needs to be talked about a ton. This is not half-assing it and saying we're going to dip our toe in to the deadline or into free agency and invest in some players, but hold back on others. They are going balls to the wall every chance that they get, and they're going to compete top to bottom. And I think that buy-in trickles down. The coaching staff, they are all in. This is a system. This is how we're playing it. We're going to commit to it. We're going to help every player be the best version of themselves. So the players are all bought in. So you come into that room, you want to buy in and be a part of it too, because if you're a player, everyone's going to say, oh, they're only signing there because it's lower taxes. That's why they take team-friendly deals. I think the players, it's infectious, because they know if you go there, there's such a commitment to winning. You have a better chance of winning a Stanley Cup because they will do everything to do it, right? And you could be a part of that. So you want to have that hometown discount in that sense too. I think all of those factors come together and it works, right? Players want to be there. They're pumped to be there. They have all these different skill sets that they're putting together, and they know how to push their buttons in the right way. But it starts all the way at the top because they know what they're going after.
Can you see them winning another Stanley Cup? And if so, can you see them winning 2 more?
Why not? This is what I think has to happen. If they're not going to win a Stanley Cup, this is my theory. An Eastern Conference team has to sign Corey Perry. That is not the Florida Panthers. And if they get Corey Perry, they're guaranteed to be the last Eastern Conference team standing.
Right.
They will not win in the Stanley Cup final, but that's how they're going to get there and beat the Panthers. But honestly, I do think this core is very good, right? And in their strategy, we've seen Vegas do similar things in Tampa Bay, but like it's worked out differently for them. The Panthers are betting on a core who they have committed to, and everybody else is interchangeable around them, right? They let Brandon Montour walk. They did not successfully replace him. They tried Boquist. It didn't work, right? So they knew they had to, it was trial and error throughout the year until you could fill that role properly. And in that, they have Seth Jones. Now they have a piece that is cemented into place. So now you can let Aaron Ekblad walk and try to find a replacement for him at a discount. I think it's a smart strategy to have that this core you're going to keep competing with. Obviously, we're going to see as they age how it goes, but guys like Forsling and Barkov and Kachuk and Sam Reinhart, like they have a lot more to give. This is not, they're 33 years old signing 8-year deals because that's the kiss of death for some contenders trying to keep it going, right? And I think they know if they let someone walk, someone else is going to jump to sign them, that they can go for that minimum contract to balance it all out.
Okay, let me ask you one more thing about luck. This is, I'm just doing this off the top of my head here.
Do we ever do anything according to plan? Of course, it's off the top of your head.
Dude, seriously, I just wanted to talk about pizza and pickles with you, and here we go talking about Aaron Ekblad and the Florida Panthers. But speaking of Aaron Ekblad and luck, so we make a lot about Matthew Tkachuk's injury and LTIR, etc. Now we find out just how bad he was banged up and how much he was injured. Also this year, there was a 20-game suspension for Aaron Ekblad for a PED violation. Now, that money came off the cap while he was suspended, which opened up the opportunity for the Florida Panthers to acquire Brad Marchand, Seth Jones. Do we look at this is like along the lines of the Zen farmer example, right? Maybe. Was that good luck?
Yeah.
The PED violation. Hindsight, that was really good luck for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with the LTIR usage for Matthew Tkachuk, right? Because not only did he not sustain those injuries in Florida, it was for 4 nations.
Yeah,
so
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, they shouldn't get screwed. And not for nothing, the guy was injured. Yes, he was back for the playoffs. And it's the same thing with Kucherov when he had his hip surgery. But you look at, yes, they're scoring. They're scoring in round one. It's primarily on the power play where you can be a lot more stationary and you can take that time to get up to gear. Kucherov's skating was complete shit when he came back from his LTIR. And Tkachuk did not look 100% in round one either. So I get it. People are pissed. And I think that in some cases, there's reason to do investigations to ensure everything's kosher. And you should do that anyway. But for the suspension, I have two ways I would rather see this go. I either think there needs to be like a cap hit penalty, right? So maybe you get 50% relief because the team, if a player
just doesn't come off the cap at all.
I'm fine with that.
Like if you want to really motivate players to walk through, like there's nothing more than I let my team down. Like, that's a killer for a lot of these guys.
No, 100%. I'm fine with it being fully on. Like that's path A. If not, a percentage something. The other path though is I would take similar to baseball. If he's suspended for 20 games and those 20 games trickle into the playoffs, guess what, bestie? You're not eligible for the playoffs and you're missing 2 regular season games next year. That is the big fuck you if you want to like make a statement. And I think that there's something to it. Maybe you don't do it on the first infraction, but the second one you do, like there's a scale for it because it's very extreme. Maybe step 1 is you don't get cap relief. And step 2, if this is your second infraction, you don't get to return for the playoffs. Or maybe off the bat, like I think it's something that should be talked about a ton. Like you have to be super strict on that, right? Like everyone wants to talk about integrity of the game and is complaining about video review. Here's integrity of the game. There's something about it that didn't fully sit right, that he only missed 2 playoff games because it happened to be the end of the suspension.
I like how you're game 7 about everything, Shayna.
I try.
You are game 7 about all of it. Now, Mason Marchment goes from Dallas to Seattle. And I think the first thing that probably a lot of us noticed is he goes from one tax-free state to another tax-free state. I don't think Seattle was the only team looking to acquire Mason Marchment. I also believe that there were other teams that probably offered the Dallas Stars more than a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick. So I think a lot of fans looked at this last night and said, "Hold on a second. If I'm a Maple Leafs fan, we'd offer more. If I'm a whomever fan, we'd offer more than a 3rd and a 4th for Mason Marchment. Have that dimension, that element into our lineup." And the one thing that someone mentioned to me last night is this is where Jim Nill's reputation comes into the equation, and this is Jim Nill playing the long game. That he doesn't want the Dallas Stars to have a reputation where, if you sign with us and agree to take less, we will not send you somewhere you don't want to be when the relationship is over. And if you look at Jim Nill, like he kind of always sends players to places where they can succeed and they can thrive. Jim Nill doesn't have a reputation where, you know what, don't sign with one of Nill's teams. He's gonna, when the situation is over between you and his squad, he's not gonna accommodate where you want to go. He goes from one non-tax state to another non-tax state, and I look at that and I say, that is such a Jim Nill move. That is, you know what? I know we could get better compensated for this trade, but I'm playing the long game here. Because somewhere down the road, if we develop that reputation of screwing players, then we're not going to be able to get players. Do you know what I'm getting at? And does that resonate?
I see where you're going, but I would say teams and players are still signing with Vegas. And Vegas does not give a shit about your feelings. They are cutthroat and conducting their business however they see fit. Now, there's a difference between living in Vegas and Dallas, maybe, or you know what I mean? Like Vegas is one
that's a tax-free state too.
Well, yes, but I think it's bigger than that. Like if you're in Vegas, you have no idea if you're going to be sent to like Siberia just to clear cap. Like you might not be playing for 2 years.
Okay, so let me give you the example. Like I have never asked the player if he was legitimately pissed at this, but I kind of have to think that he was. Like when Ryan Ellis, who signed a long-term contract with the Nashville Predators, was traded to the Philadelphia Flyers, that involved a pay cut because all of a sudden he went from a no tax state to a tax state. And I remember people from the Nashville Predators would always tell me, like, look, one of the things that Nashville sells is like, hey, we're a family and we all take less to be successful here, etc. But also he said, if you agree to take less in a city like Nashville, you better get a no trade clause. Like or no move clause. Don't take the deal unless it comes with a no move. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for a pay cut somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I think in some cases that's going to matter. I honestly do think the tax stuff gets a little bit overhyped with it, because I would call some of it just like when you're signing that extension, right? Like if whatever Sam Bennett's number is going to be, I'm going to say that's a hometown discount to stay with the team that has that commitment to winning. It's a little bit different. But when you're signing as a free agent purely, maybe it's a little bit more of the conversation of taking less, right? If you're Mason Marchment going from Florida to Dallas, you might be taking less to play there. So I do think it's a consideration, but I think it's also the Stars doing this now. Had they waited, maybe they could have gotten more. But I think there was a bit of pressure to get this done sooner than later and make it clear, like, hey, we're clearing out cap the right way and not moving Jason Robertson and settling things down, not hamstringing a new coach before they even come in. And I think also like they got the Maverick Bork contract done the next day, right? And that's when I think. I think for Bork in particular, that was like your low-key offer sheet potential. One of those like quiet.
I don't think it was low-key, Shayna. I don't think it was low-key. I think everyone's looking at that one going like, ooh, because we saw they have like $500,000 yesterday with the cap space, and everyone went like, well, say goodbye to Maverick Bork then.
I mean, low-key in the sense of like a Dylan Holloway versus a Matthew Nyes, right? Okay. Like it's a different caliber, let's say. But that's one of those like offer sheet candidates. I think it just settles things down to get it done sooner than later. I think the tax part of it could be a part of the conversation, although, price of living is way different in Washington than Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
And that's part of it too.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's a good way, like, here's a team that is going, maybe could try something and you'll have a good role there. And you're not going to be rotting away in, say, San Jose or Chicago in the middle of a rebuild if that's really what you don't want. Like, I think it's a good way to have a good reputation, which you want to have. And I think some general managers have to work more for it than others, right? I think for Vegas, you can get away with murder. I think for the Rangers, you probably can too. And like some of those big name teams, but not everyone can afford that.
Real quick, do you have a thought on what we heard? We'll end on this one. Do you have a thought on what we heard out of Connor McDavid yesterday? Now, it wasn't exactly what Oilers fans wanted to hear. Today, general manager Stan Bowman said he's earned the right to take his time, and we have to respect that. Also added that, listen, McDavid is going to be priority number one, but also goaltending, surprise, surprise, is going to be a priority for Bowman and the Edmonton Oilers. But starting with yesterday's press conference, and Oilers fans not quite hearing what they wanted to hear out of their captain.
Sucks, but it's his right. It is absolutely his right. I feel like fans sometimes forget players don't owe you shit at the end of the day. Like, I know that's harsh to say, but they don't. And people get really upset sometimes where players decide to go. I can't believe they would want to live here or take this here instead of doing this. When it's a big decision where you're committing to spend the next 7 to 8 years of your life, you should take time. And after losing 2 straight years in the Stanley Cup final, you absolutely should take the time. And also keep in mind, this is not his general manager of his whole career, right? There's been a lot of change. Now it's Stan Bowman, who doesn't exactly have the best track record, if we're talking strictly on the ice, of building a team. He's made a lot of mistakes along the way. I mean, you look at the Trent Frederick contract, even starting with that versus anything else is a choice. I don't have an issue with him wanting to see what direction someone else now is going to take this team in, because he didn't have a full offseason last year to learn his tendencies and things like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with settling what just happened over the last 2 years and contemplating your future. This is a decision he should think on. Yes, everyone wants it done July 1st. Yes, that's going to change how the Oilers proceed this summer. But no matter what, whether or not you have Connor McDavid, you need a goaltender. You need more help on the back end. You need more secondary scoring. All of that's still going to be true whether or not he's there. So they should conduct business as usual, and maybe they'll get it done later this offseason like they did with Draisaitl last year, and just let everything settle down now.
I think one of the things that McDavid did yesterday, we'll close on this, one of the things that McDavid did yesterday was he calmed everyone down about July 1st. And sort of lowered expectations of when you could hear an announcement about his contract extension. I mean, it's something along the lines of like, it almost made it sound like McDavid was saying, look, I'm going to see what this team does here in the offseason, and then I'm going to make up my mind. Because, he talked about, if I see windows to win multiple championships or consistently win here, then signing is easy. This one to me was like, all right, I'm going to lob this one into Stan Bowman's court, right? Like, show me you can do this, and then show me you can do this, and then we'll talk about contract. And I think one of the things he did yesterday was calm everybody down about July 1st. Now we're prepared for July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd, July 4th to come and go without a McDavid contract. Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair, because I'm sure we're going to, I won't be surprised if Kaprizov signed July 1st to extend, right? So then it's going to put pressure on this situation. If I'm Stan Bowman and I'm the Oilers front office, I know the NHL isn't as star-driven as, say, the NBA, where LeBron James is handpicking who he wants to play with. But if you're committed to Connor McDavid, I would want his input on the decision-making process, too, for certain things, too. If you're looking, who are the wingers you think you'll click with? This is who we're contemplating. We might not take his opinion, and you could hurt relationships if you completely disregard everything he says, but take some of what he thinks would work into consideration as well. He's a smart guy. He's not just a good player. He has a ton of hockey IQ, and I think knows what'll click with him, what'll click with certain players, and kind of get some input from him on what he thinks the team needs. I think that's a good show of good faith too, of we don't just want to build around you. We want to build with you, right? This is going to be your championship window. You're the best player in the world. I don't think every team can afford to do that. I don't think every player deserves that, but I think the select few, I don't know, a Sidney Crosby or a Connor McDavid, they've earned that.
Can I keep you for a couple more questions real quick? Or do you have stuff to do today? What's your day?
No, I'm good. I'm going by the pool when we're done with this, so hit me.
You taking the dogs?
Dogs are already there. I came back from the pool for this. That's what I was doing. It's beautiful out. It is summer. I'm enjoying it. First day of summer.
You're the absolute best. Okay. This is an essay. Team I'm most curious about leading up to the draft, at the draft, and then into free agency by Shayna Goldman. Which team is that? For me, it's Utah.
Yeah. I think they're a very good pick. I'm intrigued because I don't think they're as far away as some people make them seem. I think we saw that progress that last year in Arizona, and I think there were some really high highs last year. They can be healthier and keep making bold moves. I liked what they did last year. I am beyond intrigued to see what they're going to do.
I wonder about Ekblad there. Right shot, first
I
pairing.
I wonder about some top wingers there. I want to see what they do with that.
I'm curious about John Tavares there. With Utah.
Why not?
They got a lot of kids. They got a lot of young players, right? That's why.
I don't think you want to take away ice time from Barrett Hayton, though. You're signing him. It's to be a winger to start and then center if need be. So he has to be okay with
that. You have a thought on Anaheim? And here's why I ask. It seems as if recruiting is a lot easier for Pat Verbeek now. And listen, I don't say a lot of pressure. There's not Yzerman pressure on Pat Verbeek. Trust me, and you know this. Yzerman's feeling it, especially after last year, watching the Ottawa Senators make it to the playoffs, watching the Montreal Canadiens.
I mean, that's the one. That's the one.
I know that is the one. The Montreal has won more so than Ottawa. You're right. I don't think there's Yzerman pressure on Pat Verbeek, but it feels like this is the first year where I think people are looking to Pat Verbeek and saying, "Okay, you're going to give us something here."
Yeah.
And it's easier to recruit. I mean, I'm sure that, part of the lure for Chris Kreider going to Anaheim was Joe Quenneville. Do you have a thought on what they look like here?
Yeah, I'm very curious what they're going to do here because they have a ton of cap space. Obviously, they had to acquire some contracts because they don't have a ton. But they have some really good players. And I think you're getting to that point, especially changing coaches. Cronin, I think, said all the right things when he was hired, and it just didn't work out the way it was expected. I was very excited about him when he took over, and it just really fell flat. A couple years ago, this was the Young Ducks. They were exciting. They were high-flying. You were watching every game, even though you knew they would lose. And, the Sharks were that this year. But you have to – and the Sabres were that a few years ago, too. You have to build on that, and they just haven't done it. They have a ton of talent here. So what are you going to do to get them going and do it as they're entering their prime? It's totally different. If you're going to have a young team pushing to the playoff picture, your opportunities are completely different versus someone doing it and everyone's 30 and 31 years old, right? It's so different than everyone's 24 years old. I think they have so much talent there. It's time to see it start to come to fruition. And also, with certain things, the Gibson situation, it's shit or get off the pot. It's time to make a decision there because it's just going on far too long that I think you need some closure in some ways to really open up this next era, or just say we're good with him being a 1B and call it a day.
the ask for him at times has been 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. And it's tough because you can assume, again, at the beginning, right, of the Ducks being really bad and his numbers going south after being so good, you could say, well, the environment, what goalie would survive behind that? And you could start digging up things and go, he was good, he hit a wall. And you look at the defense and understand why it happened. But year after year after year that's happening, it's just going to crater his value and get to a point where it's like, did he regress too far because of the situation they put him in and now it's unfixable?
Yeah. Real quick, Singzy in the chat, Yzer plan was an unmitigated disaster. I mean it this time. We'll end on this one. I think internally there are some there in Detroit, and this may be an oversimplification, that just want to blame the whole thing this season on goaltending. Dylan Larkin was quite vocal about the lack of action from his general manager at trade deadline time, to which his general manager said, essentially, you guys didn't deserve a trade. Oof. How do you see Detroit right now, Shayna? We'll end there.
I think he could have said that a year ago and it would have been fine. But this deadline, it's like, why didn't you make a coaching change sooner? Why did you trade Jake Wallman for nothing and not have a second move to follow up? Even if things fall through, you need to have backup plans and all different contingencies. I think that there's so much pressure on him to fix so many different things, and you don't want to waste anybody's time, right? Like Seider, he was drowning in his usage, right? Like, it's just so wrong. And now you see the pieces are starting to come to fruition. You're like, okay, the potential's there, but they're just not building on it and acting on it the right way. I don't understand it. You have to take some risks, and they're not doing it enough. Every year, Prashanth does this plan, and everybody look him up. He's on Blue Sky. You can subscribe to his Substack, and it's what I would do if I were Steve Yzerman, right? It is a masterpiece. He does it every year. It's multiple points and parts of it. Read that and learn what Steve Yzerman should do, because I trust it wholeheartedly every year that he writes it. I have retweeted on Twitter and on Blue Sky, so go look it up, because to me, there's so many different paths they could take over the last few years, and they've just blown these opportunities. So now it's like, hurry up, let's get something done.
Glad you mentioned Seider. The deployment, like, he takes the heaviest minutes in the NHL, period, and since he started in the NHL has not missed a single game. 82, impressive. 82, 82, 82. Seider, to me, is one of the most impressive guys in the NHL, period. Now, you have dogs in a pool that are much more interesting and entertaining than I am. So go enjoy it. And enjoy your weekend. Thanks for talking about everything from mispronouncing pizza to the Detroit Red Wings Yzer plan, to tax-free states and the Florida Panthers. You are, comme on dit en français, as we say in French, la première étoile, the first star. Thank you, Shayna.
Thank you.
There she is, Shayna Goldman from the Too Many Men podcast and The Athletic. You can read at The Athletic, listen to her on the Too Many Men pod, which is excellent. You have any thoughts on any of that, Zach? Dave Pagnotta, by the way, had to bail on us today. Maybe he had pool and dogs too. I don't like Shayna, but Shayna came in from the outside to come and join us today. Dave, okay?
Dave's got his cape on right now. Thankfully, he's okay. He said there was an accident in front of him, and he's helping out right now.
Like a car accident?
I guess so, yeah. So he said that's why he couldn't make it for the show. So good guy, Dave Pagnotta, but he couldn't make it on. I'm going to put a poll up here, but I want to know what is worse for people. Which plan? The Shayna plan or the Yzer plan?
Well, the Yzer plan hasn't even made it to the playoffs yet, so right now it's got to be Yzer plan.
That's what I was going to say.
But go for it, yeah. Like, I know there's a lot of angry Leafs fans too.
Yeah, exactly. Or
the Pagula
also
plan.
to the point of luck. Yeah, I could do that. I could put the Pagula plan in there as well. To the point of luck that you guys were making, I'm going to steal or use the cheesiest line of all time. You have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. Yeah. I think that's what we kind of saw with the Panthers, but it was like there was, I feel like, a lot less luck in the last 2 years in the winning than there was in the year that it took them to get into the playoffs, which allowed them to go on this run and to go on this journey and to be where they are. I think the luck came at the beginning, propelled them into this, and then a lot of that that standpoint has been the luck that got them here. I don't disagree with you with the LTIR and the Ekblad and those timing of things. Those are luck, but I think
Ekblad
the
was lucky for them.
Their luck.
That PED suspension was totally lucky for the Florida Panthers. Come on, let's just be honest.
Yeah,
sucks because you lose the number one pairing D, but help turn that.
Yeah,
into
but I think that the majority of their luck came before, and what we've seen since has just been.
Well, again, like we've
the best
made
hockey team in the last 25 years.
We made a lot about that Chicago-Pittsburgh game, and the other one too. It's so amazing when you go back and look at things, and we've made a lot about that Brad Marchand breakaway. In the year that the Boston Bruins, broke all those records, becoming the greatest regular season team of all time. Sorry, Montreal Canadiens, and that save in the first round, late in the third period, that right pad save, that saved the Panthers' season. They ended up beating the Boston Bruins, went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, and lost to Vegas. But let's not forget too, the other bit of, I don't know if it's luck or just great goaltending, was Alex Lyon. It wasn't Bobrovsky. Like, we're putting Bobrovsky in the Hall of Fame. If Alex Lyon is just average, right, or bad, or just like a guy that's kind of bounced up between the American League and the NHL at various times, like, are we talking about Bobrovsky going to the Hall of Fame, or are we talking about Bobrovsky getting traded or bought out, or like, we're not talking about Bobrovsky Hall of Fame. Instead, this guy's going to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
With all of his investments in his Stanley Cups.
Pretty amazing. Speaking of Panthers players, you want to see something funny that happened 15 minutes ago, approximately?
Does it involve Brad Marchand?
Oh, yes, it does. And,
jeez. What happened now?
The Toronto Maple Leafs, specifically the Leafs Nation account. So I posted earlier today this quote card. Nick Kyprios joined the boys on Leafs Morning Take, and he basically, talking about Marchand, said, I don't know how he doesn't end up a Maple Leaf.
Okay.
So I put that out there. 10 minutes ago, I get a notification on my phone from Brad Marchand. I'm like, what the fuck? Brad Marchand comments on the picture, and he says this. Shit, dog. The people want to see it? Question mark.
This guy knows how to keep a story rolling. This guy is the finest. Yeah.
And then he posts. So that was 21 minutes ago, and I saw that, and I grabbed that. Yeah. And 5 minutes ago, or maybe I guess a little bit more now, he posted a story of him and Sam Bennett. It's a selfie of the two of them. And he says, where are we going at Sam Bennett?
Do you remember how the Arizona Coyotes lost their minds and freaked out when Biznasty appeared on Twitter? And honestly, think about how far it's come now to even Brad Marchand answering you on. So I didn't see. Was that Instagram or Twitter? I'm guessing that was Twitter.
On the Leafs, it was the Leafs Nation Instagram account. But I'm logged in. I post things and run stuff on there.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
But like here we are. Like the idea of Paul Bissonnette interacting with hockey fans publicly in his own very unique way. I do have to insert that caveat too. Terrified teams. Like Maloney sat him down. I think Rich Nairn would have been communications director at that point. Like, I remember there was I don't know that we should allow this. Like this is there has to be that separation between the players. And here's Brad Marchand just blown through stop signs. We're not even 24 hours away from, Sam Bennett saying, I'm coming back, not going anywhere. And now him and Marchand are like, all right, homie, where are we going? Pack your bags. Where are we going? It's who was it? Was it Bob Plager? When Scotty Bowman, when he was running the St. Louis Blues, was so mad at Plager one day. He just called him up and said, I've had enough of how you're playing. Just go to the airport right now. When you get there, call me. I'll tell you where I traded you to. So he drove to the airport thinking he was getting traded. Called Scotty. His guy's like, I changed my mind. Go back home. But here we are with Brad Marchand saying to Sam Bennett, where are we going, homie?
I get it.
Honestly,
I get
dude,
this
I wish.
concern.
I wish he was 25 years old right now. Like, part of this is like,
so we could get this forever.
Before we can get this for 10 years. Just like this. Just like this. Oh, God, he's good. God, he's fantastic.
Yeah. It's so good for the game. That's the thing that I think people, they get tunnel vision on stuff where like, yeah, I get it. There's some cause for concern because you don't want to let this snowball and go too far in some instances, or with some people maybe. But like, you know what's going to be leading news channels and sports podcasts and on NBA shows and stuff that doesn't talk about this? All of this stuff that the Panthers are doing. And then it draws new eyes. So who cares? Like, let's have fun. It's a sport. We're playing sports. These guys are playing you say the phrase all the time. You said it yesterday.
What's that?
When I grow up, I want to be a hockey player. Well, you can't, do both.
Can't do both.
So who cares? Like, let's have fun. This is so fun. Good for Marchand. But I was laughing. I'm like, I see a notification on my phone. Yeah. Again, like it's on the Leafs Nation, but I see a notification. Brad Marchand commented. I'm like, what? Go and look. That's what he's replying. Rosie replied.
How come,
Marshy.
Yeah. Zach right now, folks, barely has enough loose skin to blink. He's so excited that Brad Marchand responded to him.
I just think he can't
blink.
Funny.
Put some eye drops in him. He can't blink. He's got no loose skin. Oh, buddy, congrats. That's fantastic. I think that's really awesome. Which why don't we use that then? And that's awesome. Like, God, man, Marchand is so good. That's so smart. Just keep the story alive. Keep people talking. Like, honestly, the worst thing is just for like everybody to just go away. Like, trust me, there are a lot of old school people in hockey who would hate all of this. Like, who would hate everything about this. Like, can you imagine, just for 1 second, I don't want to treat him like a Pagnotta. I know it's from a different era, but can you imagine like anyone from a Lou Lamoriello team doing this? I'll tell you what. Matthew Barzal has one of the best personalities in the NHL, period. Full stop. You know who knows that?
No one.
Nobody. Yeah. Now, with Darsh in charge there, hopefully everything's a little more looser and you're going to start to be able to see some of these types of personalities. It may take a while because everyone's so used to, Lou school, and they might not feel comfortable doing it yet, but trust me, you are going to fall in love with Matthew Barzal's personality, and now he gets to show it. And I think there needs to be more. Like, I can't see Bill Zito being upset about any of this. Right? But trust me, like, there would be other managers, like old school managers, that are horrified at what they saw at 11 last night with the crowd surfing in the cup and I'm coming back and, like.
The cup, listening to Pink Pony Club, crowd surfing with the cup. He's 37 and he was wearing like a child's medium Sam Reinhart jersey.
So good. So good. There would be managers that would be horrified at this. That would be absolutely terrified at what they see. Not the Florida Panthers. I think that's just fantastic. All right. Let's get to the Crispy. Time now for the Ninja Crispy Inbox, presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 Portable Glass Air Fryer. Zach, Brad Marchand.
Meet the first of its kind. The Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
This is, as you all know by now, an all-in-one system that includes 4 quart, oh God, first day with the new tongue, 4 quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass containers, and 2 storage lids. I've only been doing this since 95. Cut me some slack, folks. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4 quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies, or 1 Brad Marchand. Cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes. If you saw him afterwards last night, you know what I'm talking about. 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals to 37-year-old free agents. Zach, what do we have in the crispy inbox today?
So hand up accountability. That's what we do. I don't know where my crispy question is that I built the sheet for. Must have not just put it in here. I have every single thing we could have wanted else otherwise, but not that. Yeah. So I'll just read you the question here.
Okay, go for it.
Talking about luck, did the Panthers get reverse goalied? Has any cup champ faced worse goaltending over 4 playoff rounds? It's not necessarily actually asking if there was worse goaltending that's been faced, but just food for thought. Tampa Bay and Vasilevsky gave them an .872 save percentage, which was 25th, 27 goalies.
Yep.
Leafs had to play their second stringer, Joseph Woll,
backup
goalie.
Courtesy of.
The Conn Smythe winner. Where are we going? Canes had 1 shutout, but they gave up a goal for every 4 shots in 3 of the remaining games. Mid 800s goaltending in the 4th, and then there was the Oilers. So the question is not actually was there literally worse goaltending, but just the concept. And I'm curious your thoughts. Did they get reverse goalied here,
or did they just make like good goalies look bad?
That's what I think.
Like I really like if it happens one series and it's like, oh man, Freddie just like turned into a pumpkin again in Carolina. Like, okay, or Vasilevsky all of a sudden, like, does he need hip surgery again? Like, if it happens once, then it's like, okay, a bad goalie performance. But they wrecked goalies. Yep. Like they really, really wrecked goalies during this entire run here. So if it happens just once, I'd say like, yeah, that was a reverse goalied. But no, man, like they damaged goalies and damaged them mentally, not just Sam Bennett physically with Anthony Stolarz. But like, yeah, that's I don't think that's bad goaltending all the way. You know, I was going to say that. I don't think that's bad goaltending all the way. I think that's just they just dummied goalies and more than just bumping their heads.
The other thing I wanted to bring up here, and the piece that I grabbed and stole from our friend Laz to bring up to you, and it's different than the goalie conversation, but it kind of plays the same way, is how often have we talked about over the last little while, Panarin couldn't perform, Pasternak couldn't perform, Matthews couldn't perform, Kucherov, McDavid against the Panthers. Well, at some point, do you not just say, holy shit, the Panthers shut them down? Like, yeah, maybe this wasn't the goalies that were bad. It was the Panthers that just do this to you. Like,
it's them.
So that's why I wanted to bring up that question today.
It's the Panthers. It's like the old joke.
Panthers deserve the credit.
You ever hear the old joke? Zach, they say there's one asshole at every party, but I don't believe it because I've never seen the guy.
Yeah.
It's them. It's the Panthers. Like it's the Panthers. Just like, if you don't know the jerk at every party, it's probably you. It's the Panthers, man. They did this.
Yeah.
It's the Panthers. All right. I got one more bit of business here. Have we covered everything, by the way? Did we go through everything that we needed to today on the program? Oh, by the way, Steve Spott's going to look weird on that Boston bench. I'm just so used to seeing Steve Spott next to Pete DeBoer, and there's Steve Spott going to be beside Marco Sturm with the Boston Bruins. That's going to be weird to me. Like we talk about like seeing players, and like the first time you saw Chris Kreider in an Anaheim Ducks jersey, you went, "Oh, wow, that's holy jeez, that is different." But seeing Steve Spott on a bench without Peter DeBoer is going to be a weird one for me. For you too? I think for all of us.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought about when I saw that news. The only other time that I could think about it, he did it on Toronto's bench. No? The only other time in the NHL, I think. So, and that was a long time ago.
Always been at the hip with Peter DeBoer, and that goes back to junior hockey. Okay, let's see what you come up with for this one. This is the under the gun moment for Zacharu, who's already 0 for 1. Because like there's so much responsibility he has on this show here.
That was... But I'm looking through, I'm like, I have everything we have, all the screenshots, all the videos. I'm like, where's the crispy? And then it just I didn't put it in.
Amel Delich on line 2. Our exec is on line 2 waiting. Amel, Zach will be ready for your phone call here in a couple of moments.
You know how many boards I have to make? We have to make, not you. We
what?
For
I'm
the
not
draft
making boards.
show, which
you
we're doing next
boards.
Friday, by the way, 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I went through it today. I sent the number over to Amel for how many we need. It is 109.
109. How many?
109.
Are they doing like the next 3 drafts all in one? Is that how Gavin McKenna getting drafted next Friday too? Maddox Schultz getting drafted next Friday as well. Landon DuPont.
That saying you have about the nothing like a well-produced show, and this is nothing like a well-produced show. Yeah. That works today. Next Friday,
you're gonna be on
that's
point?
out the window.
Yeah, it's say it's the old Dan Carlin line when he hosted talk radio in San Diego. 3 days a week I was a great talk radio host. Problem was I was on 5. The Sheet is powered by FanDuel, home of the same game parlay. Make every moment more on FanDuel. FanDuel, love you guys. FanDuel, proud to connect fans to the major sports moments that matter to them. Man, FanDuel puts up with a lot of crap from you and me, Zach. And in the absence of games, our friends at FanDuel are helping us out with this segment. What do we got? Are you in constant contact with FanDuel to try to come up with something every day that'll tickle your host's chin?
I thank FanDuel so much for putting something new up there.
So good. I love them.
Ready?
I love them.
Ready?
Oh, no. What
2025, 2026 Calder Trophy.
Ooh.
Ivan Demidov versus the Fields. Ivan Demidov plus 210. The Field is favored minus 280. But this is pretty close. Like, this is a tight odds here. Obviously, the Field is plenty of options to choose from. But, like, I'm wondering if you think that there's going to be some guy, and I want to ask you in particular.
So back-to-back Calders for the Montreal Canadiens?
Yeah, so is there that it's 2-part what that I want to get your thoughts on. One, you think the Habs have the ability here to go back to back. The other thing I was going to ask you is there a guy that we're not thinking about who played last year who could jump in and get it?
Demidov is the clubhouse leader for next year. The thing that I honestly, Zach, like the thing that I wonder about this year, and like sometimes we think about first overall picks and how they have to go into the NHL right away. Owen Power was the last one not to do it. The thing that I'm really curious about is, will there be anybody from this year's draft who plays in the NHL next year? I don't know that there is. Like you go through, like I would listen. Matthew Schaefer didn't play anywhere close to a full season. I would probably have him go back to Erie, if I'm the Islanders, go back to Erie of the OHL. I think he's going to compete for a spot. Man, that's a tough position to break in with as a teenager. Michael Misa, I could see him going back to Saginaw. Porter Martone, Anton Frundell, Brady Martin, Sean Aitchison, like go right to Jake O'Brien, go right down all of the list here. And it doesn't seem like there's anyone that's ready to walk in from the group that we're going to hear called next Friday. That to me is that to me is a really fascinating one. Now, the other guy that I really like, and he played some this year, is a Philadelphia Flyers pick, and that's Jetlachenko. Jetlachenko is the other one that I wonder about because he's going to be given a lot of opportunities too by the Philadelphia Flyers. That's the other guy that I think of here. But again, it's a whole summer's worth of training and it's opportunity and it's where the spot is and how much ice time. But if you want someone outside of Ivan Demidov for me, Jetlachenko. That's my guy.
That's what I was looking for from
okay,
you.
that's what you're looking for?
Jetlachenko.
Yep. But again, like we may be looking at a draft where nobody goes into the NHL the year after they're selected, which might be the smartest thing to do anyway for most of the drafts.
You want me to throw something at you here quickly, and you can.
Is it from your buddy Brad? Is it from your pal Brad Marchand?
No.
Okay.
John Shannon tweeted that the NHL schedule will be released July 16th. Will Mitch Marner sign his contract before or after the NHL schedule is released. Before? You think so?
I think before. I think his tour will be well over by then, and he'll have made his decision, and by then he will be spending his time counting his money. Where he's counting his money, that is.
You think when he gets to Vegas, they're going to do like the welcome that they did for Mark Stone? Do you remember that?
Oh, man, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was amazing. Why not, right? Yeah. It's Vegas. 100%. Yeah. If it's fait accompli that he ends up in Vegas. By the way, Shayna just sent me a picture of her pool and the dog. Just to troll everybody. That's how she's spending her Friday afternoon. Nice. Thanks to Shayna Goldman for stopping by the program today. And as Zach likes to hear, there's nothing like a well-produced show, and this is nothing like a well-produced show. Congratulations on getting Brad Marchand to take some of the bait that you put out there. Well done. Thanks to everybody in the chat on today's program. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube, listening on your favorite podcast platform. As Zach mentioned, we'll be doing a draft watch along next week. Next Friday for the first round. It'll be me and Pierre McGuire and a whole bunch of guests as well, pepper and parsley all throughout the broadcast. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend. NHL hockey is over for the year, as we all know. Congratulations again to the Florida Panthers. But the news never stops, and it's going to be a really fascinating offseason now. The teams have cap space and a desire to get better faster. Seems like there's a lot of buyers right now. So there'll be a lot of headlines this weekend. We'll go over all of it on Monday here on the program. And don't forget, Monday morning, start your day with the Morning Cup of Hockey. Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohen. Those are the Impact players. And then DFO Live at noon. And then us back here at 3 o'clock Eastern. I think we have Mason Marchment actually on Monday's show. So fingers crossed for that one. In the meantime, have a great weekend. On behalf of Zach Phillips, Chef Marek signing off. We will talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.